Hi there, and welcome to Ian's Engage channel. I'm Ian. In a previous video, I asked whether people would be interested in watching review videos on my channel, and the answer seemed to be a resounding yes. So in this video, I'm kicking off a new occasional series of videos in which I'll perform short reviews of locos, rolling stock, kits, and anything else that seems pertinent to the hobby. The first subject for review is one of the newer liveried Graham Farish Class 31s, which were announced in 2022, one of which arrived with me just before Christmas last year. Because I'm modelling the BR Tops era, I've obviously gone for the BR Blue liveried option. However, several other liveries are available. I also decided to go for the sound-fitted version, as I've been quite enamoured with the sound-fitted locos I've heard so far. If you want the exact product code of the loco I'm reviewing, here's a shot of the end of the box so you can note it down. The loco comes packaged in the usual Graham Farish hard plastic box and is constrained by flexible plastic inserts, which keep the loco relatively safe and sound while it's not on the layout. Opening up the box, other than the loco, there's an accessory pack with dozens of tiny pieces you can enhance the model with, including air pipes, vacuum pipes, and screw-link couplings. There are also instructions on where to fit all of these tiny pieces. The instruction sheet also explains how to lubricate the loco and also how to take the body shell off for DCC decoder fitting, should you need to. As already mentioned, my loco is in BR Blue livery. It's also numbered 31309 and is named Cricklewood. It has a white line running from end to end along the centre of each side and has red buffer beams. These are both details I don't remember seeing from my days trying to avoid being run over by Class 31s at Thornamy Depot back in the 1970s. However, I've seen photographs of the actual loco, and it seems to be a valid representation of the prototype it's modelled on. The lines, numbers, BR logo and nameplate all look to have been applied well, with no visible overspray or glue marks being present on any part of the model when viewed with the naked eye. However, when viewed through a macro lens, there are a few small defects in the paintwork, such as around the black window lining, but these are absolutely tiny and all but invisible when seen at normal viewing distance. There is a lot of moulded detail in the bodywork, and the roof in particular has a nice representation of the fan and exhaust vents, as well as other roofing panel details. The sides of the loco follow suit and are equally well represented with moulded detail. The bogies also contain a fair amount of moulded detail, with springs and axle boxes being nicely picked out. I'm not sure whether or not the handrails at each side of the cab have been separately fitted or not, but they have been nicely picked out in white, although they're probably a little too thick to be to scale. I don't mind this too much, as any thinner and they'd be prone to breakage. The transfers have been applied very well, with number, BR logo, data panels and tiny warning notices all standing up to close scrutiny, even with the macro lens. It would have been nice to have had etched nameplates, but the transfers look fine in all honesty. There is a nice amount of detail on the yellow ends of each cab, with windscreen wipers, lamp brackets, warning notice, marker lights, head codes, buffer beam and buffers all being represented well, with some of them being picked out in red paint. There's also a small amount of detail within the cab, although it hasn't been painted and being so small is difficult to see. Realistically, I think the whole model has been decorated in about as much detail as can be expected in an N-scale model, while leaving it capable of being handled. The loco is fitted with a coreless motor, has pickups on all wheels, uses a Next 18 decoder socket, and has a 0.7 watt 8 ohm speaker that comes fitted to all models, whether sound fitted or not. As my model has sound, the instructions inform me it comes fitted with a Zimo MX659N18 sound decoder. The loco also boasts direction lighting, more of which later. As mentioned earlier, I've been impressed with the sound-fitted locos I've heard so far, and this one is no exception. So here are a few of the many sounds available on the model. I'm operating the model using DCC, and straight out of the box the mechanism seemed to jerk the loco along, and the motor had a bit of a buzzing whine about it. However, after running in for about half an hour in each direction, the motor quietened down, and the loco now runs much more smoothly. The loco seems to be geared realistically and has a sensible range of speeds without having to change CV values. It also has a good crawl ability. The Zimo decoder chip is configured for inertial running by default and also features active braking via the F2 function key, which provides very realistic looking running and an excellent driving experience. The loco has a co-core configuration, meaning it has 3 axles per bogie, and is the biggest loco I've purchased so far, so I was interested to see how it would cope with the complex S-curves and points of my test layout. Here's the loco pulling into the sidings across a double S-curve and navigating 3 sets of first radius set track points. No problem there then. Here's the loco pulling a parcel train out of one of the sidings across one of the S-curves containing 2 sets of first radius set track points. Again, no problem there. A couple of loops around the test track and I think the loco looks and sounds fantastic. Now, here's a test. I've already shown that the loco can crawl fairly well, but can it be easily controlled to reverse the parcel train back into the siding? Let's find out. Here we go. Being able to control the loco at slow speeds in situations like this is essential in my opinion, as it would be quite easy to derail the whole train by speeding through this section should the slow speed capabilities be less controllable. Well, that was most excellent, all things considered. As I said earlier, the model is supposed to have directional lighting, and I took this to mean that the marker lights would be white at the front and red at the rear when switched on. I also expected the headcode discs to light up in the direction of travel. I was quite surprised to learn that only the rear red marker lights would illuminate and remained off at the front of the loco. Also, even though the headcode discs do light up, they're extremely dim and are only really visible in complete darkness, which is a bit of a shame. In fact, I spent several weeks not realising that the headcode discs were lit at all, and thought I had a faulty model. So, what's going on inside the model? Now, this was a big deal for me, as I had to pluck up enough courage to remove the body shell from the chassis. This was the first time I'd removed a body shell from an N-gauge loco, and quite frankly, I wondered whether I should be attempting it at all on such an expensive model. Thankfully, it turned out to be very straightforward. I used toothpicks to lever the body off the chassis at the points indicated in the information leaflet, and the body came away very easily. My loco was obviously already fitted with a Next 18 decoder, but here's where you'd plug it if your loco was supplied as DCC ready. You can also see the location of the speaker here, and some switches that can be used to switch the rear marker lights on and off for each direction when using the model on a DC layout. It should be noted that this can be done using function keys when using DCC, so you don't have to remove the body in that eventuality. I have to say that this is a very well put together loco. It feels solidly built and is nice and weighty considering its size. It has lots of moulded detail and comes with plenty of accessories to enhance its appearance should you wish to fit them. There are no visible glue marks and the paint has been applied with no overspray. There are a few areas where under close scrutiny the paintwork is not perfect, and that's a shame, but unless you have the eyes of a hawk you'd never notice it. Some of the transfer details are absolutely tiny and have been applied with great accuracy. Once run in, the motor has performed flawlessly and DCC control has been accurate and responsive. While not perfect, I have been satisfied with the overall quality of the loco. I'd better mention a bit about the cost of the loco, as I said earlier that I thought it was expensive. In fact, I purchased this model from Rails of Sheffield for an eye-watering £238 including VAT. However, at time of review, the non-sound fitted version can be obtained for around £150 including VAT, although a decoder would then be required to operate it on DCC. Hand on heart, although it's an excellent model with great sounds and great running capabilities, I can't realistically say that the sound fitted version represents good value for money. The non-sound fitted versions definitely have a much more competitive price point in the marketplace at the moment. So, would I purchase the Class 31 again, knowing what I now know? I think I probably would, although I'd probably go for a non-sound fitted model. It's not that the sound is bad, it isn't. It's just that I can think of many more things I could be spending the extra £90 on. Overall, it's an excellent model, with good details, great running characteristics and wonderful sound, although I do remain disappointed with the very dim Headcode lights. However, I definitely recommend one, especially if you can get one in a sale somewhere. Okay, so that's my first review done and dusted. I've tried to keep the review as short as possible while mentioning as much as possible, but I think this may be my longest video to date. I'd be very interested in your feedback. How did I do? Would you like more information? Less information? Would you like a rating system? What have I missed? What more would you like to know? Or have I got it just about right? Also, if you've got one of these models, what are your experiences with it? Are they similar to mine, or are they completely different? Let me know in the comments section. Anything and everything you've got to say will be greatly appreciated, and I could end up incorporating any suggestions into a future review. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully there'll be another review video along soon. Bye.